here because Trump's here.
Everybody's on board here and we're having a great time.
This is a beautiful, story. This is a beautiful movement.
President Donald Trump holds a campaign-style rally in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It is one of the president's few appearances in the Midwest, and the Missouri GOP encouraged supporters to make the trip up north. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brittany Pieper.
And I'm Jordan Berger. Right now, we're just 2 hours away from President Trump's arrival, and people are pouring into the U.S. Cellular Center in Cedar Rapids tonight. KMUA's Meg Hilling is inside the center with reactions leading up to the rally. Meg?
Despite the rainy conditions up here in Iowa today, KMU8 News.
All right, thank you, Meg. While the president is in Iowa, Republican leaders appear to be moving ahead with what many call a rushed vote on health care, but so far have not revealed what's in the bill. And lawmakers are on both sides getting impatient. Blaine Alexander has more.
At the U.S. Capitol, a protest outside over the health care bill being secretly crafted inside.
Health care is a right, not a privilege.
The GOP leader's latest plan, reveal a first draft tomorrow, a CBO score, how much the bill will cost early next week, and a vote next Thursday.
They're trying to do this as quickly and as secretively as they can because they know this bill is terribly unpopular.
Republican leaders, energized by last night's special election win in Georgia, want to keep the momentum going and vote before the July 4th recess.
I think all of the concerns people have had about the process will evaporate because I think there'll be unlimited opportunity for people to read it, understand what's in it.
And the White House boosting its case with this new YouTube video. Elsewhere on Capitol Hill, in 2 separate hearings, a focus on Russian election hacking.
In 2016, the Russian government, at the direction of Vladimir Putin himself, orchestrated cyber attacks on our nation for the purpose of influencing our election. That is a fact, plain and simple.
As of right now, we have evidence of 21 states, or election-related systems in 21 states that were targeted.
No evidence any votes were actually changed, but underscoring the need to stop Russia from striking again. Blaine Alexander, NBC News, Washington.
And on health care, Senate Republicans should get their copy of the bill during a closed meeting tomorrow morning.
Paying for textbooks adds to the expense of going to college, and UN System President Moon Choi hopes to change that. KOMU8's Carla Valcourt's here in the studio with details on his plan.
Valcourt, KOMU8 News.
The Camden County Sheriff's Department is still seeking help to find a missing woman. 40-year-old Leslie Rogers is listed as an endangered person. She has not been heard from since her car was found abandoned in Camdenton earlier this week. You see her there. Her ex-husband, Philip Rogers, is listed as a possible suspect. Law enforcement officers are looking for a 2012 GMC Sierra with Missouri license plate OCY975. A woman claiming to be Rogers called the sheriff's office today to say she was fine, but deputies say until that can be confirmed, the case is still open.
Doctors upgraded the condition of House Majority Whip Steve Scalise. Doctors at the Washington Hospital Center say the Louisiana Republican is now in fair condition and continuing to make good progress. Scalise was shot as lawmakers practiced for a charity baseball game in Northern Virginia last week. The bullet went into his left hip, breaking bones and injuring organs and blood vessels. Meanwhile, we are learning more today about the gunman, James Hodgkinson of Belleville, Illinois. Authorities say he acted alone and had no link to terrorism. According to officials, they found a piece of paper on Hodgkinson with the names of 6 congressmen, but they did not reveal their names.
The Army sergeant who deserted his post in Afghanistan appeared in court today. Bowie Bergdahl showed up for a pre-trial hearing. He is accused of endangering comrades after walking off his post in Afghanistan in 2009. Bergdahl is scheduled to go on trial in October on charges of desertion and misbehavior before the enemy. The military judge told defense attorneys they can ask potential jurors questions about President Trump. Defense lawyers argued Trump's criticism will prevent him from getting a fair trial.
Belgian police inspected a house in a Brussels neighborhood today after a foiled attack at the city's central train station. It was not clear if it was the home of the suspect, but the man was known to live in the neighborhood. Yesterday, he charged soldiers at the station after his suitcase, which had nails and gas canisters inside, failed to fully explode. Soldiers shot and killed him. No one else was injured. A man from Morocco was arrested in a raid in central Madrid. They say he had a collection of extreme Islamist material, including a suicide bomber's manual. The Interior Ministry says police arrested 2 other men. The government says he had a dangerous profile similar to those from the attacks in Britain and France, stating he tried to recruit others to carry out an Islamist attack in Spain.
Firefighters continued battling a blaze in Portugal, which is being dubbed its deadliest fire, with the death toll at 64 people so far. The commander of the Civil Protection Agency says several other fires have spread and there are more than 2,000 firefighters involved. The fire is about 125 miles northeast of the capital, Lisbon. It started on Saturday. The disaster also prompted the Prime Minister to question the emergency response system.
Heavy rain related to Tropical Storm Cindy is hitting the Florida Panhandle. The Public Works Department's pushing the clay on some of the dirt roads off to the side to make it easier for drivers to get around. They plan to put that clay back on the road once it dries. Here it was pretty warm out there. First full day of summer. Sure felt like it. Let's send it over to Michael to get a look at what we can expect for the rest of the week.
Thank you, Brittany.
Coming up, it's Pollinator Week in Missouri. Stay tuned to hear about a plan that could increase the monarch butterfly population.
And you are taking a live look over the capital city. It is 5:07, and this is KOMU 8 News, first at 5, coverage you can count on.
Welcome back to KOMU 8 News first. And Michael's got a look at a much warmer forecast out there. Let's send it over to him.
Thanks, Tori, and good evening, everyone.
Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome.
A Missouri group's hoping to save monarch butterflies. Find out how after the break. Missouri Attorney General Josh Hawley is suing 3 pharmaceutical companies for their part in the opioid crisis. The suit, announced this morning, targets Endo, Purdue, and Janssen Pharmaceuticals for their, quote, campaign of deception. It seeks hundreds of millions of dollars in damages and civil penalties for misleading doctors and patients.
Missouri Auditor Nicole Galloway says the state could lose $3 billion over the next 15 years from tax credits that haven't been redeemed yet. Galloway says policymakers should consider the impact tax credits have on the budget. A report released today shows 73% of redemptions in 2016 returned less to the state than the cost.
Governor Eric Greitens signed a proclamation in May to recognize Pollinator Week in Missouri. And today, one conservation group held a conference to recognize that proclamation, as well as help a major pollinator. Missourians for Monarchs wants to fulfill a plan that would create 385,000 acres of habitat for monarch butterflies over the next 20 years. According to a report from the Center for Biological Diversity, the monarch butterfly population has decreased by nearly 90% over the past 20 years. Missouri is the first state to develop a conservation plan for monarch butterflies.
The monarch is a wonderful ambassador, a colorful, bright ambassador who can speak for all pollinating insects, and we can work together to help pollinators and the pollinator habitat statewide, throughout the Midwest and throughout the nation.
Missourians for Monarchs will continue its celebration of Pollinator Week tomorrow with exhibits and educational activities at another event in Jefferson City known as Monarch Mania.
The Columbia Housing Authority is giving their residents a reason to smile today. An organization called Hope Dental has partnered with CHA to provide housing residents with free dental care. 150 people will get access to services like cleaning, exams, fillings, extractions, and x-rays over the next week. The goal of the program is to help with the overall health and self-sufficiency of housing residents.
Lack of access to good dental care can have a significant effect on the health and welfare of the person in the family, and the Columbia Housing Authority strives to kind of look at the whole person, not just provide housing, but to help them become self-sufficient.
Rotary Club of Columbia also helped by covering patients without dental insurance. CHA says it plans on continuing their partnership with Hope Dental. The group wants to expand the program so it happens every 6 months.
Some help for those with sore joints. Why a new study says fish may help with the pain. That's next. Mosquitoes are all over the U.S. and in more areas than thought before. The Centers for Disease Control found mosquitoes that carry the Zika virus are in 38 more counties that they weren't found in before. That's a 21% increase. Mosquitoes breed in standing water, so it's important to empty buckets, flower pots, bird baths, and old tires. The CDC recommends using a bug spray with DEET or picaridin. Summer usually means barbecues with burgers, cakes, pastas, but experts say you might run into hidden sugars. A food expert says high amounts of sugar can lead to obesity and other diseases like type 2 diabetes. Experts recommend having hamburgers in a lettuce wrap, skipping the barbecue sauce, and avoiding calories in drinks. They say to find a balance of protein and healthy fats. And new evidence, eating fish might relieve symptoms of arthritis. Researchers at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston collected diet information from more than 150 arthritis patients. People who ate fish more than twice a week had less swelling and joint pain than people who rarely ate it. Symptoms improved the most among people who ate the most fish. Experts think fish might lower inflammation. Here's a recap of our top story tonight. System President Moon Choi hopes to make the cost of college more affordable. KOMU 8's Carla Valcourt's here in the studio with details on a plan he launched today. And here's a look what we're following for KOMU 8 News at 6. As more and more people plan to stay in Columbia to see the solar eclipse, the demand for housing and transportation has gone up.
We'll tell you how locals are looking for ways to cash in on that coming up at 6 o'clock. Michael?
Taking a look at the forecast for the overall nice weekend ahead.
All right, that's our time for now. Thank you so much for joining us.
NBC Nightly News is coming up next. We'll see you back here at 6 o'clock.